it's pretty cool to work for a company that, started literally as a newspaper. And I think today most of us would think of newspapers as sort of being really, really old fashioned, but to continuously reinvent yourself and invest in new areas and find ways to, contribute in a positive way and to continue to grow the business.
Tim Ryan, Zack Miller, what's up, buddy?
How are you? Not much.
Good.
How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. Okay, so I don't always come into these shows, specifically the intro portion, with something to talk about, but I saw something recently that I thought was absolutely transformational.
Wow.
And I know you're gonna have no guess as to what this is, but this is actually kind of like an inspirational, maybe not inspirational, but it's a thought that I was watching ESPN the other day, ESPN, and I didn't know about this, but I don't know if you recall this, but a few years ago, they announced with Penn, PENN, they were going to create ESPN Bet.
Right.
Well, now they've removed ESPN Bet, and they've now, I guess they no longer have a relationship with Penn. Now they're with DraftKings. The reason I say this is that even when you have billions of dollars, that adoption rate to actually acquire people is such a difficult thing. And I mean, is there a bigger sports network than ESPN? So for them to have not been able to have established that, I just think it's interesting that when founders and even people in growth stage are like, oh, we're just going to be able to acquire these people so easily. It's like, if the juggernaut and the originator of ESPN, the Ocho, could not figure out adoption on something like that, where they're talking about 24/7, literally, it's kind of wild. So they partner with DraftKings. Who knows what's going to go on with that?
So that whole thing is super, super interesting. But yeah, I mean, the
billions
are the big
billions.
Their pencils are super sharp. They know the numbers. They know what they need to hit, and it's super, super educated decisions for sure.
To know what they paid to get in, I don't know that. Well, I might know that number, right? You can probably find it. But then what they're losing to hedge that, just wild to think about.
And that's what's so frustrating on the founder front when you ask a simple question and they stumble or they don't think that it's a big deal. And it's just like, it is a really, really big deal.
How often have we talked about how, like, Super Bowl, they're talking about it months before. They're talking about, I watch a lot of wrestling. Wrestling, they talk about it so much. And that's it. Like the amount of time that has to just be constantly just thrown out there is unbelievable. And people are like, I wrote an email. Didn't work. Oops.
Right.
So
one and done.
Anyway, talking about big companies today, we're delighted, excited to have Mr. Jeff Merritt, maybe the first guest ever to have a double in the name. Double F, double R, double T. Gotta love it.
I can't believe you made it this far and haven't had the triple double yet. Congratulations.
We might have, but it might be the first time I've actually recognized it. I don't know.
The triple double. I like it.
Yeah.
Have you?
I don't recall.
You recall that?
Double, maybe.
Sure. Well, congratulations being the first on the most ridiculous comment, first thing to say on the show.
290 episodes, yeah.
Yep.
Where'd you grow up, Jeff? The three of us do not know each other. We've known each other for maybe 10 minutes at this point. These are Tim and I's favorite episodes because we don't know where they're going. I told you a little bit beforehand. Think of this as like coffee the first time and meeting, and we were introduced by a mutual compadre, if you will. And so it's exciting to have these conversations because you really can learn a lot about someone in an hour or so. So where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I'm from here, Hampton Roads. I was born in Norfolk, raised in Chesapeake, and so I am a product of Indian River High School, a proud Brave. Graduated from there and ODU grad after that. My wife and I raised our family here until just about the time our kids were going to college. And then I spent about 10 years in Roanoke, Virginia before coming back here at the beginning of the year. So I am truly a Chesapeake, Hampton Roads native.
Is Alonzo Mourning the most famous Brave?
From a sports perspective, he is. I was just coming into Indian River as he was graduating. And so I remember my freshman year, he was a senior, and we kind of got used to the cameras and all of the visibility at the high school. He was obviously recognized as perhaps the top athlete in the country at that time, and so
Really?
it was a pretty cool experience.
I didn't realize that they had that kind of coverage on someone still in high school. That's wild.
Yeah, I think when you're at that level, and he was, it's, we're going back 30 some years now, but and I was just a young guy, but I remember being so impressed by it, and you're not very often around somebody just literally that tall, and so when you're whatever I was at the time, 14 years old, and looking up to a person who was, I guess approaching 7 foot, it was, he was a monster in many ways, I'm sure, on the basketball court and then just walking the hallways there. It was a pretty cool experience.
I guess I forgot he went to Georgetown as I'm looking this up. First round pick, second overall. We've had a lot of like really high up picks, which is pretty cool for the area.
Yeah. For an area that doesn't have any pro teams. I mean, this area churns them out for really, well, basketball, football, and baseball. I remember when my kids were growing up, we were living here in Chesapeake, and Southern Chesapeake was right on the heels of producing a number of pro baseball players. The Upton brothers had just started to hit it big. David Wright, just a number of others who all grew up there in Chesapeake were in the big leagues and really making great names for themselves. And so we certainly are the founding location for a lot of great folks.
That's wild. Yeah, it's I guess I'm surprised that you are from this area. I guess what it just always seems like with Cox, there seems to be a rotation of folks in and out, and
well, yeah. I mean, I started my career here 26 years ago. I was a telemarketer. I was leading the outbound calling area team, and I can tell you a little bit more about that later if you really care to hear about it. But I grew up with the company here. And Roanoke was really a formative opportunity for me. I had been with the company for about 15 years. When I had the opportunity to move to another role and go a different direction with my career, the position out there was open. And Roanoke is roughly about a tenth the size of our Hampton Roads market. Hampton Roads for Cox is our biggest market in the eastern region. It's basically from northeastern North Carolina all the way to the edge of New Kent. I mean, it covers a tremendous area. And so being in Roanoke, which is about a tenth of the size, gave me an opportunity to really learn a lot about the business. The company invested a lot in me. And so when the opportunity to come back home for me, which was a unique experience, I think a lot of people don't have that opportunity to come into this role and to lead this market was, really a dream come true.
Is it normal? Do you typically have to do a stint, or do they send people through Atlanta, through the headquarters in terms of if you're on a career track, or is it common that you can stay in Virginia or wherever you are the entire time?
I think that it does vary quite a bit depending upon the type of role that you're in. I mean, my role is very much a general management type of a role. I'm very customer facing and community facing in the role that I'm in. Atlanta, which is where our corporate headquarters are, actually, and interestingly enough, is not served by Cox Communications. And so our folks who are in Atlanta generally are professionals from a specific discipline. A lot of folks there who may be, for example, in our engineering department, in various forms of marketing or strategy, a lot of different things. And they look at things on a national basis. Folks like myself and the direction that I took is really planted in the field. And so by default, I might move around. People in my role might move around a bit, but we're generally pretty close to the customers.
Some might not know this, and I know there's different arms of Cox. But big companies from
Yep.
Cox Enterprises, not communications necessarily, but
Yep.
have come out of this area, Auto Trader being one of them.
Yep.
And it's pretty wild when we think about innovation, when we think about like big companies and opportunities. We don't necessarily think that that's something that has kind of ties to this area, yet it does. Do you see any of that stuff in your day-to-day or in any of the last few decades of what you've done? Because I just think like when I go or I watch the Super Bowl and 5 times you see a homes.com commercial and it's like, well, that was literally created on Granby Street.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. And now it's the guy from Schitt's Creek that's the son that it's just like, hey,
Right.
that's like sure, they might not necessarily, I don't know if they're actually not located in here anymore because I know that got acquired, but that was literally created on Granby Street. Like it's people don't think about that stuff. So like just the big company innovation aspect that's happened here over the years through Cox.
So Cox started 127 years ago out of a newspaper in Dayton, Ohio, and the gentleman who founded the company, James Cox, was eventually the governor of Ohio and actually ran for president. FDR was his running mate. He didn't win the election, and that actually was probably pretty good for all of us who work as part of the Cox Enterprises world, because he reinvested his time and his effort into the company, and that those newspapers grew, eventually evolved to radio, then television, then cable. And so as technology or as the world changed, Cox changed with it. And then eventually started to acquire a variety of things in the automotive space. So Manheim Auto Auction, for those who are ever buying a used vehicle, it's highly likely that that vehicle moved through Manheim Auto Auction. I think they're certainly the largest reseller of automobiles in the country, maybe the world. But you mentioned Auto Trader, Kelley Blue Book, just a number of logos in the automotive space. That's a part of Cox Enterprises. Of course, Cox Communications that I'm a part of, which is the largest piece of it with our broadband, video, telephony products. And then the company continues to reinvest in new and innovative spaces. The emerging side of things, Cox is a huge investor in controlled environment agriculture. So if you go to the Food Lion or Harris Teeter or one of the local grocery stores and you pick up your lettuce and it's Bright Farms, that's a Cox-owned company. Nexus Fuels is a company that Cox acquired in the last few years that takes the very difficult plastics to recycle and turns them back to their virgin oils and materials. And it's a very innovative technology. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to work for a company that, started literally as a newspaper. And I think today most of us would think of newspapers as sort of being really, really old fashioned, but to continuously reinvent yourself and invest in new areas and find ways to, contribute in a positive way and to continue to grow the business.
That's just such a wide swath of industry to go into. I mean, how do you make, how are those decisions made? And how long does it take for those to even come to fruition? I mean, that's wild.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall where those decisions are made. They're way above my pay grade, quite frankly. But I think a couple of the pieces of magic to that are, certainly the family, the Cox family, and the descendants of the Cox family are very rooted in employees and the communities that they serve. And so I think that is a filter that they use for making some of those decisions. I think a lot of companies, have an exit strategy, a way in which they'll say, hey, look, we're going to cash out and make a certain amount of money and go on and live our lives on a yacht somewhere, maybe. But the approach that Cox takes is a continual reinvestment strategy. It's being with the company for 25 years, it's always interesting to attend our semi-annual meetings and hear our CEO talk about a new area where we're investing or something that we've decided to put our money behind. And and I think that continual reinvestment and desire is a fourth generation company. I mean, there aren't a lot of those out there. And I think there's plans for it to be a fifth generation company. And so I think that mentality drives a lot of the decision processes.
What I hear in that is innovate.
Yeah, well, do they stress entrepreneurship as opposed to entrepreneurship to kind of define those next new ideas in terms of what problems need to be solved?
I think I think there's a little bit of both. The family certainly is willing to invest in companies. A lot of times you'll hear, "Hey, Cox has invested some amount of money in a small company to help them, raise capital, move the business forward." Might not be something that Cox wholly owns, but they're investors in it. Things like Bright Farms, which is the controlled environment agriculture company I mentioned. Cox was a smaller investor in the company, saw the potential in it, and eventually purchased the company. And so I think it's a willingness to look at what's happening, understand that diversity in your business is important, be willing to take a certain number of risks. I mean, it's, again, I'm an employee of the company, so I'm not making those decisions. It's not my money necessarily that's being invested there, but to sort of be a student of the game in a sense is really, really fascinating to watch it play out.
Yeah, I mean, innovate or die. And you think about you said newspapers earlier, for all the kids wondering what that is. So back in the day, there were these things that got printed on a daily basis, and you would read them. Now you have this thing called the cellular device. Soon it'll be probably produced by Cox. It'll be like this thing where you just like open up whatever. And if you want, anyway.
Well, but that's so true, Zach. I mean, I would love to know, like Jeff, what you were saying, being a fly on the wall. I mean, I would love to know that there's got to be some sort of plan with AI, with individual advertising. There's something's being planned. There has to be. You have to be on the forefront of that.
You have to, right. I mean, you have to be prepared and ready for change. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons around is, if you're not changing, you're dying. And so to look for, what's happening in the world and really understand, the direction that in the space that I'm in, that technology is moving. You mentioned AI. That's an interesting topic in and of itself, a complex topic, no question about it. For all the good aspects of it, there are scary pieces of it as well, and you have to be cognizant of both. And so, but 100%. I mean, we talk about, for our company, it's about connectivity, and we want to make sure that people are able to be connected to whatever it is that they're doing. And so, if it's a residential customer and they want to talk to somebody, next door or halfway around the world, we want them to have that connectivity. If they're going to do something on a video stream similar to what we're doing, we want them to have that ability. But we also are big players in the business space, the technology for businesses, everything that they need in order to be able to, start up and grow all the way up to enterprise level businesses that are out there, and the government and in the military and everybody else who are connecting to each other. And so we're more of an enabler for folks to be able to do the innovative things. But, we have our moments where we also step into that innovation space.
You mentioned government. I don't think people immediately think of Cox Communications and the government, but we live in a place where we house the world's largest naval base. Mm-hmm. And Tim is Air Force alum. What is it? What do you say? Air Force? It's not alum. An Air Force veteran.
Yeah, sure.
I messed that up, Tim. Please forgive me. No. So you got Tim as Air Force veteran. You got so many people that are from the Navy, whether active or veteran. Mm-hmm. And I used to work in TV. That was like my first career out of college. And I don't think growing up, I probably started TV at 22, 23 years old. I grew up in DC. I knew about the military, appreciated the military, but didn't really understand it until I went to Naval Station Norfolk and saw a homecoming or a deployment.
Right.
That is one of the craziest things, and you could see it through a lens, like on TV, but you don't like the emotions of like, oh, that person's about to go potentially to war for 6 or longer months, and then when they come back, it's just pure like joy. But knowing that you have a tool, maybe, that can help them communicate with them ongoing, like that's got to be pretty powerful for you. But also like knowing that has to happen so that they can communicate. Like how do you guys create something like that for those individuals so that they can talk to their loved ones and it's not 6 months? Because I would imagine 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, there was no communication for months at a time.
Well, and that was, I mean, that's why I'm over here laughing, Zach, because it's like, man, I think about
it was like that.
When I was overseas, you know, we joked about what a newspaper was, you know, back in that day as well. There was this thing called a phone card where you had to put your phone card in with your PIN number so you could make a long distance phone call. And that was if you could get a line, a government phone line from overseas to somewhere stateside so that you can be patched through and just do local long distance as opposed to international long distance. I mean, to think about how connected. Yeah, it's crazy.
So the kids got it better these days, is what I'm hearing.
Oh my, well, yeah. I mean, they're walking around on the ships that are you know, connected with internet service, and they're able to FaceTime and text or call whenever they want to.
Yeah, I mean, think about the miracle of this. I mean, you know, the reality is that folks can have real-time conversations, not just audio, but video conversations with loved ones halfway around the world. And, you know, I suspect, particularly for our military families, that's ever so critical. To your point, they're out there risking their lives for our safety. Their loved ones halfway around the world that care about them, and the morale boost that must be. I can imagine when you used that phone card and called home, it was a morale boost just to be able to hear the voice. But imagine being able to see your family and you know, if you have kids or whoever it is. Yeah, I mean, that's critical for us. I mean, those moments of human connection are what we really do care the most about. And, you know, I think we really saw that manifest itself during COVID. I mean, we realized that, you know, during those times of isolation, when people were not able to, you know, not only could they not see their loved ones, they might not be able to see anybody. They might have been stuck in a house or quarantined or afraid to get out, whatever the situation may be. And so our network had to perform. It had to be there for them to allow them to be able to make those connections with the people that they love the most, that they couldn't see in person. And so, yeah, we take that very seriously. We continuously are reinvesting in our network. Just imagine, you know, taking it back 5-10 years ago, or certainly pre-COVID, you know, people were generally using the internet to download stuff or to stream stuff or to watch things. It was a one-way street. It was coming into their house, but there wasn't a whole lot of things leaving their household and going back to the world, if you will. And that all changed very dramatically. I mean, people were doing two-way communications very often. I mean, people who were working in an office were all of a sudden working from home, and they were interacting with people two-way. Students were having to, you know, do classwork from home, and that they never would have had to do before. And so, yeah, that investment in the network, and you know, one of the things that we do at Cox, and you know, I would say industry wide, it's pretty prevalent, but certainly we take a lot of pride in the fact that we are really preparing ourselves many years ahead. And so, when COVID hit, as an example, if we hadn't been several years ahead in terms of our investment in our network, many people would have been kind of, you know, just dead in the water in terms of the communication. But we were ready for it in the sense that our network was ready for it, and I think that that's something we are really, really proud of.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing anything about networks choking or anything like that. So you all must have been pretty busy on the back end making sure.
Yeah, you want to be on the side of it where no news is good news, right? that sort of a situation.
Do you all pay a lot of attention to data from that standpoint in terms of the amount of data, the throughput from this has got to be insane.
It is literally doubling. The amount of traffic over the internet is literally doubling every year. And so, people are consuming a tremendous amount. I grew up in the cable television world. People would watch all of their video content on TV. That's evolved over the course of my career, and people are still consuming tons and tons of video content, more than they ever have before. But they're not doing it through cable like they did when I first started in this industry. They're doing it through streaming. People are, online. Gaming is so incredibly prevalent these days. The work from home aspect of things. I mean, just you name it. The amount of traffic on the internet is increasing at an alarming pace. And so the investments and the continual investments that we have to make in that are literally in the billions of dollars.
Is that from a number of device standpoint, or is that going from like 1080 to 4K, 4K to 8K? Or is it all the above? Yeah,
it is. It's all the above. And so the richness of the content that's coming through in that example of the 4K TVs and the content that's streaming there. But I mean, I just purchased a new house when we moved back here, and I was going through and you start thinking about the number of connected devices. I mean, I have all kinds of sensors around the house for various things. We've got, you've got your everything from your thermostats to, I mean, you have refrigerators and ovens and
light bulbs.
Light bulbs. You start naming. I mean, there might be 20 or 30 connected devices. And that might even be on the low end now per house. Yeah. And so, and how many times could you imagine a family sitting in a room together, streaming content on the television while everybody's also on their phone doing something? I mean, that's, multiple streams right there.
Yeah, it is wild. My last look, I have 48 connected devices. How about you, Zach? Any idea?
Okay, well, I don't have light bulbs. Okay, like I still go to the store and get a real light bulb. Okay. Really? Like smart?
Yeah, I mean, you can. There's an app on Wise. You can get Wise light bulbs, and you can change the color. You can turn them on, turn off, all different settings and stuff. Yeah.
Are you counting window sensors?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Let me think about this.
Just looking at like some of the size of just the mobile apps on your phone. I mean, there can be a gig in size within themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's the little things that you don't think about that really start adding up. I mean, it's the Internet of Things is huge.
I would say 18, 19.
I bet it's probably double.
From like just Wise?
No, your entire house.
No, dude. I don't have a smart house. Like I'm old school. I still lock the doors,
Sure.
I have a key for my vehicle. I don't know. That's it doesn't start on my cell phone anymore. But 48, Tim. Jeez, Louise, disappointing you. Got to get to 100.
You'll be
I remember Tim and I having this conversation a lot in 2020, and it was around how adoption rates moved like 7x, 5 to 7 years overnight. Yep. You got these people, I can think of very specific people who are 60s and 70s still working and figuring out how to use a Marco Polo, how to use a Zoom, how to use something like a StreamYard, right? And they wouldn't have done it before, but then immediately that's the way that they're communicating with their teams. Right. Going back 6 years, was that an easy thing for you guys to do? I'm sure most of the people at that point were in office and not remote, but like, how did you guys deal with that type of communication? And has it made you guys better, worse overall? How do you work with that? Because communication overall seems like maybe it's gotten worse since COVID rather than better from an actual like interpersonal conversation with people. But as a leader of a large, company in town, like how do you guys handle communication over the last 6 years?
Well, I mean, obviously, there are pros and cons associated with it. I would say, the ability for people to have flexibility in their and work-life balance is certainly one of the pros. And so as you're attracting talent and you're hiring candidates to come work for you, like it or not, that's a question that's usually at the top of their list is, the flexibility associated with it. And so then it comes down to, culture, I think, and what expectations do you have for folks? And at the risk of sounding a little bit old school here, I do think that the value of the in-person connection, whether that be on a daily basis or just a fairly frequent basis, is pretty critical. I mean, we schedule these types of connections where we're talking to a person virtually. I mean, it's usually not impromptu. It's not the, hey, I passed you in the hallway, let me ask you this question, or hey, I've seen you around, what kind of work do you do? The career development, those sorts of opportunities can be lost. And so you have to be really intentional in terms of how you get back to the employee base to help, specifically drive the development and the growth and the connection points that would have happened a little bit more organically in the office. And, I think we're pretty good at that. I think, we do a variety of different things to, invite people back to the office as often as we can. We try to bring people together on a regular basis so they can form those connections. And so hopefully those connections evolve into one that they maybe can continue virtually. We have a variety of different virtual connection points that we do, everything from just an open hour of connection to specific meetings virtually. It's a different world, and you can try to fight it. You can try to force something to happen, but generally you sort of have to go. I had a leader one time. You have to ride the horse in the direction that it's going, and to a large degree, that's what we do.
So circling around, Zach, for homes that have broadband services, which is 92% of homes, the average number of connected devices is 17 to 21 per household.
You're right in that sweet spot.
Yeah, 48's not bad.
Overachiever.
You're like two households.
I just bought two new cameras last week. So
yeah, I mean, we have
I went from 15
dishwasher, washer, dryer. I mean, all that stuff is connected. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm at 19.
I think that it's probably, to me, I think that's a very sticky business service, in the sense of, the thought of changing providers or even changing routers and having to go through and with passwords is just, that's a bridge too far once you get that many devices connected.
Obviously, we appreciate that folks want to stick with us for the experience that they have, and I agree. It is a sticky aspect of the business. I mean, we realize that we have to deliver on the experience. It has to work. And sometimes the greatest compliment that we can get from our customers is not hearing from them because everything it's behind the scenes and it's delivering exactly as it's supposed to. And so, it's also a lot of time and investment by our teams. I mean, we have hundreds of employees here in Hampton Roads who are dedicated to monitoring our network to make sure it works all the time. We're striving for 5 nines, 99.999% uptime as much as we possibly can. When we have to take the network down, we try to do it when it is least impactful for our customers and have it down as little as possible. We have very quick responses. I mean, you never know when somebody's going to run into a pole and take out part of the network, but we try to have as much redundancy and quick restoration as possible. We have business continuity plans that we exercise as often as we possibly can to make sure we're ready to restore business in the event of any kind of a major disruption. It is. It's a lot to make sure that network is running at its best all the time. I mean, we're in a technology world, and sometimes things break, and how you respond to that matters to your customers.
Are internet speeds is that even an issue anymore? Or like, I would think that once you get to the point where you can download by the gigs, I would think that it becomes a non-issue. Or is that still?
We all like to talk about, you can get speeds at this level or that level. And the reality of it is those speeds are far greater than what most customers would ever need.
Right.
They'd never be able to notice the difference between, one of the very highest speeds available and one of the more moderate speeds. Unless maybe you're, a fraction of a percent of society who are doing some really high end gaming, as an example, or certain things where, a fraction of a second really makes a huge difference. But no, and so our goal is to always make sure we're ahead of it. And so if we're giving a person a gig speed and they only need half of that, then we know that as their needs and the number of devices that they have and all of this other stuff evolves, they'll have what they need to be able to utilize it. We don't want to be just in time on that. We want to be in front of it.
You said something quite interesting, and I heard this line from someone who runs a pest company. So like they're trying to keep insects out.
Okay.
You said, best thing from our customer, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but is to not hear from them, right? Mm-hmm. From a pest perspective, the best thing is you don't want them to get bugs. So when they call, that means they're not doing their job right. And so when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's very interesting. You're right. You don't want that to happen. So like no news is good news in your world. And so is that hard to articulate to your team that, in some businesses, you want to get a lot of customer service. You want to have a lot of constant communication with people. In your world, it sounds like, you know what? We don't want to hear from anyone, because if we do, that means something's down or something's the matter. Am I off the rails on this? Like it sounds.
Well, look, I mean, we love to hear from our customers in the right context, right? I mean, every person who walks into one of our retail stores because, they want to get the latest iPhone or, add additional services, by all means, we'd love to speak with them. I think that's a reflection of the belief that they have in our company and their desire to purchase additional products. I think it's a great compliment to us. But right, I mean, at the end of the day, we realize that folks don't want to come home from work, just like you don't want to come home from work and flip the light switch and not have the light come on. You don't want to come home from work and try to hop on the internet and for it not to work, or turn on your TV and for it not to work. And so we want to be there for them when they're ready to use our products and our services. And so I do think it's a compliment if we don't hear from customers. But you're right, for our employees, the customers they do hear from are the customers who may have a question or an issue. And so, we try to maintain that perspective that, we're hearing from a very, very small percentage of our customers. And so remember that that means that the high percentage, the 90+% of the customers that we're not hearing from are experiencing having a great customer experience. And so they just don't feel the need to call us and tell us about it.
What, you laughing at me, Tim? You don't like?
No, I'm not. I'm just, but I'm just thinking like, so yeah. I mean, what is there a customer experience type of person that a random act of kindness or hey, haven't heard from you in 10 years. Here's an updated router so that you could.
We do. You're exactly right. I mean, and so as technology changes, we realize that, we have to stay up. You're right. A router is a great example. A modem or a router in a customer's home, if they've literally had it for 10 years, what that probably means is that we have increased our speeds, and we are regularly increasing our speeds for our customers to give them more ability. But the technology, the actual piece of equipment in their home may not be able to accommodate that. And we want to reach out to our customers, not because we want to sell them additional products, but because we want them to get the full benefit of the products that they're already paying for. And so we do. We proactively connect with our customers, and that is generally a lighter touch. Hey, we want you to to get the best you possibly can out of your products. Reach out to us when it's convenient for you. Stop by one of our stores. We try to make the online experience an ideal experience for customers, because we know their time is valuable, and sometimes that's the way a lot of them want to interact with us. And so we try to provide them a number of different avenues to connect with us so that they can stay on top of it. But yeah, I mean, we do. Certainly, it's, we love the community that we serve. I mean, and there's, in my role, I'm fortunate. While true, I do hear from some customers who may have issues, and we deal with those. I also am very fortunate to receive compliments. I mean, when our technicians are in customers' homes, when customers come into our retail stores, when they call into our call center, and they just have these amazing wow experiences, some of them will write us a letter, and they will just, want to, highlight the employee and the experience that they have. And it's a highlight of my day too, just to be able to, and a high sense of pride for us to be able to hear that from our customers.
Well, that is super cool. I mean, that should be a marketing campaign for you all, in terms of, just reaching out and upgrading folks, or just letting everyone know that, hey, we've upgraded everyone's speed. That I was really kind of being facetious, because I didn't even think that wasn't even in the realm of possibility. Yeah. But to hear that is true, that's really, really, that's amazing.
100%. Yeah, no, look, I mean, the world that I started in when we were in the, I was cable, and then we introduced residential telephony and high-speed internet, early in my career here. And the speeds that we customers were subscribing to when I first started in this business are lower than our lowest possible tier that you can get from Cox today. And so now that's an evolution of 25 years or so. But yeah, I mean, we are, as our network is upgraded, as we recognize the increasing need for this bandwidth, we are often upgrading our customers for no additional charge, and keeping them in the same price tier, but with a higher upload or download speed.
I love that.
I wouldn't be surprised too if the slower folks, I don't know what the right word is, those who have the slower routers, modems, whatever, are actually slowing down the entire network. I remember that used to be a thing. Who knows if that's still a thing.
You only can go as fast as the slowest person?
No, fortunately, the way our network is managed today, that's really not the case. And one of the things that we take a close look at is the amount of utilization on a network. And so the technology for us to be able to manage the traffic on the network is amazing. And so if we recognize that, hey, this particular area is really saturated with high-end users, we have the ability to go in and to upgrade that particular area of the network. A neighborhood, we do it at what we call a node level, so it might be a couple hundred homes, give or take, and we'll split it off, and we'll take those 200 homes and we'll make them two separate 100 home networks, and so that you don't start to experience those congestion issues that you're referencing.
What are your general thoughts on just what the workforce is going to look like moving forward?
Oh, that's a big question. It's an interesting world that we're living in right now, particularly in with the virtual capabilities that are out there. One of the things that I heard recently from a friend of mine who was searching for a job is, in the past, and they haven't been unemployed in a long time. And the last time they were looking for a job, their competition was other people who lived in the same geographic area. And now their competition, while they have a lot more opportunities, many more positions that they could apply for across the country because of the virtual aspect of it, that also increased the competitive nature. And so it's an evolving world with employees. I think the difference maker is going to be the companies that recognize the value that their employees bring, the companies that are progressive in their employee-centric approach, who are willing to, evolve with the needs of employees and to recognize the pay needs, the benefit needs, the experience needs, and there's always going to be a war for talent out there, and the companies that are going to be the most successful are going to be the ones who win that war for talent, because the good employees are going to bring the best customer experience, and the best customer experience is going to ultimately make the company the best performing company.
This man needs to run for president with a line like that. I mean, that was like.
No, don't wish that on me, please. I'm not running for anything.
I'm with you.
But I mean, we hear so much about that, right? Where is the workforce going? You guys got a lot of teammates there.
Yep.
It's just, is it doom and gloom type of, there's so much evolution of it. And I will preface something, but I didn't want to preface it that way because I didn't want to give you a different angle or take that angle. Yeah. So I'm evolving myself. Maybe that's the robot in me. That's evolving.
Well, we realize that technology is changing the way that people interact, and it's true in our own business. I mean, so for example, if you were to go to Cox.com, or if you were to go to the Cox app, and something you may have done 10 years ago, it would have required a call into a call center to speak with a representative. You may be able to do through our bot, through a self-help application. We might be able to utilize tools to, say, for example, reboot your modem and your router remotely to solve a problem, or add a service or change a service. And so, yes, I mean, and our customers are demanding that. And so the opportunity we have is to make sure that the employees that we have are evolving in that space. And we also employ a large number of folks that, really, are hands-on people. Our technicians, I love all of our employees, but our technicians are at the very top of the list. And the reason for that is because they're the ones who are on a day like today where it's raining outside, or out there literally, dealing with an issue to solve an issue, or proactively head off an issue for our customers. They're the ones who are in a customer's home, helping them solve some problem that they may have. And that sort of workforce and those needs are going to be there, I think, for a really, really long time, maybe forever. And so those skilled employees are highly valuable, and I think always will be.
Well, and it is wild to think, again, the spectrum of employees that you have, from folks monitoring networks to folks that are knocking on doors and entering homes. And that is just a huge swing. And a couple of years ago, we would have thought that, the people, monitoring the network, they're secure as can be. Whereas the pendulum has swung the other way, in the sense of it's the folks that are really, really hands-on appear to be the ones that will be in the workforce the longest.
I think you're right. It certainly ebbs and flows, and the folks, the folks of yesterday who might have been doing one thing behind the scenes to monitor aspects of the network may be evolving to do something entirely different. Sure. And one example of that is we have an increasing need, as all companies do, for cybersecurity resources and folks to ward off threats to the network, and not only to the network, but to our customers as well. And so, we are evolving in that space. We have a number of our employees who are gaining skills to do those sorts of things to help us, keep the bad guys out, so to speak. And we have Cox, as an example, has purchased a company. Rapid Scale is the name of the company, and we offer these services to businesses. And so there are a lot of businesses out there, particularly medium-sized businesses, that are big enough that these cybersecurity threats could be really detrimental to their business, but not big enough that they have a whole host of in-house resources to do these things. And so we're providing those services to customers. And so, yeah, I think it's an evolution of skill sets. It may not be what you were doing 10 years ago, but
Right.
those people are still very valuable. And if you've been around for 10, 20 years in the technology space, you've seen enough that you probably can put that expertise to use.
I agree. I really ignorant question, because I've never thought about it until now. From a data center standpoint, the data centers, who do they use from an ISP standpoint? Do they have their own, or can you all provide services to data centers?
Oh, for sure, we do. I mean, we're certainly a big provider of the two things that people probably don't think of: data centers, to your question, and it's a good question. We are supportive of that. We realize that data centers themselves have a variety of different pros and cons. But if a data center is going to be built, we're going to provide the broadband service for them, and cell towers. I think the other thing that people don't realize is, if you pick up your cell phone, it's connecting to a tower, and then that signal is running across a fiber optic line until it gets to some other place, and those are also provided by ISPs like Cox. And so, yeah, we play a big role in that space. A lot of data centers have redundancy in there, and so they might have 2 or 3 providers, and we're happy to be the primary one where we can, and or an alternate in some cases, and so that those data centers stay up and running.
Interesting.
Is it difficult to manage a lot of people? I know it's such a I think some people can manage a handful of people.
Yeah.
I think some people can manage a lot of people. But do you find that's a difficult task?
I actually sort of shy away a little bit from even the word manage. I guess if you were to use the word manage, it probably is kind of difficult. But I prefer lead, and I prefer a lot of trust. And so I take great joy in working with the team here. And, I see our team as a group of colleagues. We all have different roles and responsibilities. And yes, we report to different people. And some days as a senior leader, you have to make difficult decisions. But generally speaking, we're very fortunate. And I've been with the company for 25 years. I don't know what it's like, how green the grass is on the other side, but it's pretty green here. I mean, we're fortunate to have a number of employees who have been with us for a really long time, who are professionals, who know what they're doing, who have a great deal of pride and ownership of the work that they do. And I think if you have a culture where everybody recognizes that, they're working towards something bigger, where they're appreciated and respected, it's really not that hard at all. And so, yeah, I wouldn't classify it as difficult. I would say sometimes challenging, and most of the time fun.
I'm going to take that lead versus manage word. Thank you for that. I don't like to say the word like employees. I like to call them teammates, kind of in the same vein, right? Mm-hmm. I like that, the leading of that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. No, I hate
the word manage too, but I mean, it's sometimes it rolls off the tongue because you've heard it so many times, you've dealt with it so many times, but no, I like that.
Sure. Yeah. And look, I mean, we have a large workforce here. We have a number of people from all kinds of backgrounds and stuff. I'll take a little bit of a tangent here and tell you somewhat of a sad story. Recently, we actually lost a couple of our employees. One, literally in the last month, one to cancer and one to a heart attack. And as sad and terrible as that is, I attended both of the services for these employees, and we were sitting. The Cox team was sitting there as a family, as the Cox family, beside the person's actual family, and in one case, somewhat actually outnumbering that person's family because of the commitment that we all have to each other and the relationships that we build here. And so, you're right. I mean, we use the word employees because we are all employed by the company. But, you realize that we're all people, and we have this place in this world, and we're all working for the company, maybe because we love working for the company, but certainly because we are trying to, earn an income to support something else. And it's times like that where I really just appreciate the people that I have an opportunity to work with, when I get to see that outpouring of support for each other and for the broader family.
Yeah, that's super, super special.
Yeah.
Tim, I don't know if you saw this because you were on stage during this, but Jeff, your team that was at Tech Night just a couple months ago, you could, because you weren't there, right, Jeff?
I didn't get to make it. No, I was out of town. Yeah.
You could tell that they enjoyed each other. It was really interesting. Like, you don't always see that, right? Like, people, like, you're there to be there, but like it was deep too. 6, 7, 8 folks. Like, you could tell they liked the energy. They were into it. They loved Cox. Like, it was cool to see. Like, it felt natural.
Yeah, that is cool.
And yeah, there was one guy there. I can't think of his name, but he like walks a lot, and I've seen all of his stuff. He's like super positive. I think he's an engineer on the team. Came with Derek, but like, love it. It was.
Oh, cool, you see his stuff on LinkedIn a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Stacy, I'm guessing, is who that was.
It is Ben Stacy.
Yeah. He's just one of many examples of our employees who bring their passion to work every day. Cox is very invested in our communities, and one of the great things that I get to do in my role is to not only serve on boards in the community, but also to participate in a variety of different community events. And oftentimes we have things like Tech Night or other events, and it's never hard to get folks to come join us at those events. We can say, hey, we're going to do X, Y, and Z in the community, or attend this event. And we always have tons of volunteers. People want to be engaged with the community and with the organizations that we support. And so I think what you experienced at Tech Night is very similar to the experience that we have, with a lot of things we do in the community.
Yeah, and it's, I guess to your point, Zach, it's very authentic. I mean, everyone that Derek on our board is great to work with, and Barrett Stork is super great guy, that very, very positive and funny. Everyone that I've always encountered on the Cox team has been great. Good.
I'm glad to hear it. And and that's I think that's real. I don't think that what you're seeing is sort of a show externally. I think that's what we see internally here as well. I mean, I'll give you another example. So a couple of months ago, we announced our Cox Charities grant winners here. And our Cox Charities program is a program where our employees donate money through payroll deduction for Cox Charities. So they're giving their own money towards this. And then they also, our employees are the ones to vote on the organizations and the nonprofits that actually receive the money. And so to have 12 organizations here in Hampton Roads each receive $5,000 each, all of those funds provided by Cox employees who gave directly back to the community, I think is just a reflection of their desire to do something good in the area where they live. And we always have a lot of employees who volunteer to support that sort of stuff, whether it be to certainly to donate money, but also to help review the applicants that we get for those grants, and to participate with us in the awarding of those grants. And a lot of times we'll go out and not only provide money, but we'll do a volunteer project with those organizations. And we did several of those through October and November. And so I think it's a day-to-day thing for our team. It's not just an occasional one event here and there.
when you have people coming in from headquarters or leadership, or you want to take the team out to celebrate an event, where is the place that you have to take them? Is there a favorite food establishment or a type of food of the region that you encourage everyone to try?
Well, we generally try to highlight a local business. We recognize that all the businesses around here are doing the very best to support our community, but we like certainly the locally owned businesses, and we do business with a lot of them, and so it's a great opportunity for us to give back to them when they're giving their business to us, and so that's one of the things. And of course, how could you come to Hampton Roads and not enjoy, great seafood? We're very proud of that. I have a number of places down. I'm probably like a lot of locals here, where it's like, if you come in the wintertime, I'm gonna get you to a great place down at the ocean front. But if you come in the summertime, let's avoid a little bit of the crowds and find a different place. But we love that. And what I think is really cool is a lot of times when our leadership comes in from Atlanta or other places, they want to do something in the community. And so a lot of times we'll line up a volunteer project with them. We've done stuff with Chesapeake Bay Foundation, Elizabeth River Project, with the food banks here, both the peninsula and the south side. And so those are just a few examples. I mean, we just try to find organizations to partnership, and so we make it a nice give back in a couple of ways.
Love it.
Jeff, this has been great. Appreciate your time. Anything that we've missed that you need to say?
Oh, we could talk for hours, it seems. I mean, this little introductory coffee talk has really evolved quite a bit. So, I think there's plenty that we could talk about still, but I appreciate the avenues that we've pursued today. And thank you for having me on. It was really, really an honor to be a guest and to be a part of your show.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. Thank you so much.